Aloha, good afternoon, everyone. It is Tuesday, February 11, 2025, and the time is now 1:03 p.m. Will the Committee on Housing, Sustainability, Economy, and Health meeting please come to order? I'd like to welcome Councilmembers Toba, Dos Santos Tam, and Tupola. Councilmember and Committee Vice Chair Cordero is on her way. Would also welcome Councilmember Kia'aina to the chamber as well. Pursuant to Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92-3.7, this meeting will be conducted as a remote meeting by interactive conference technology with the following procedures in effect for the meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to provide oral testimony on all items on the agenda when each item is taken up in two ways, in person in the council chamber and remotely. Before testifying, each person shall state their name for the record and will be limited to a 1-minute presentation on each item. As both English and Hawaiian are official languages of the state of Hawaii, pursuant to Article 15, Section 4 of the Hawaii State Constitution and Sections 1-13 of the Hawaii Revised Statutes, members of the public may testify in either language. For oral testimonies offered in Olelo, Hawaii, additional time, as may be necessary, will be allowed for the testifier to provide an English translation of their testimony if they so wish. All persons who have registered to testify in person will be called upon first. When your name is called, please come up to testify at the podium, and persons who have not registered will be given an opportunity to testify following the registered testifiers. After in-person testimony is concluded, I'll proceed to remote testimony via video conference or phone. When I call your name, please monitor your screen and follow the prompt to unmute. For those who are joining us by telephone only, please press *9 if you wish to testify, and I will identify you by the last 3 digits of your phone number. Please listen for the prompt to unmute and press *6. Hawaii Revised Statute Section 92-3.7 requires that all votes at a remote meeting be conducted by roll call unless unanimous. Therefore, I'll first call for objections, and if there are any, I will call for a roll call vote. Written testimonies, including the testifier's address, email address, and phone number, will be available to the public as described on the posted agenda. As a courtesy, please turn off or silence all cell phones for the duration of this meeting. Members, that brings us to agenda item number 1, Resolution 24-293, approving the granting of easements 1 through 3 to Ewa by Gentry Community Association within a portion of 91-1000 Geiger Road, TMK 9-1-013-007, and the city-owned portions of Geiger Road, TMK 9-1-069, for irrigation and landscaping purposes at no cost due to the grantee's responsibility of continued maintenance of all constructed improvements. Members, please note that we posted an agenda addendum that provided a proposed CD1 amendment identified as OCS 2025-0031/1/17/2025 for 10 p.m., and a summary of the amendment was also posted. We have Director-Designate Andrew Kawano from the Department of Budget and Fiscal Services present. Director, if you wanted to go ahead and relay the information you had on this particular item in the administration's position.
Thank you, Committee Chair on Housing, Sustainability, Economy, and Health, Weyer, and honorable council members, good afternoon. Thank you for allowing the administration and Budget and Fiscal Services to testify on Resolution 24-293. We are in support of approving the grant of easements and support the fact that the easements are in place for the grantee to maintain improvements made and for landscaping and irrigation purposes on the property. Here for questions, if any.
Thank you, Director. Any questions for Director? I just would ask, and sorry if I missed it, so there was a public hearing on this particular item?
Yes, there was a while ago, yes.
Okay, and was there any negative feedback from the community?
We're not aware of any concerns or feedback.
Okay, appreciate
through
that.
Today. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Okay, we'll go into testimony. Having no registered testifiers, anyone in chamber wanting to testify that's not registered can make their way up to the podium. Seeing none, will go to online. Anyone wishing to testify can use the raise hand feature. Seeing none and having no registered testifiers, we'll go ahead and close testimony and go into discussion. Members, since seeing none, I'll go ahead and make my recommendation that Resolution 24-293 be amended to the posted proposed CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0031. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. The resolution is amended to the CD1, and Chair recommends that Resolution 24-293 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Mahalo, Director. Okay, that brings us to agenda item number 2, Resolution 2545, reappointing Jamie Tanimoto to serve on the Clean Water and Natural Lands Advisory Commission of the City and County of Honolulu for a second term to expire on January 14th, 2030. Be any questions for Ms. Tanimoto? I just ask you to, for the record, state your name, and then maybe just concisely if you want to share.
For groups that are trying to do a lot of cultural preservation or trying to protect lands for safety purposes as well as for open space. We've seen a lot of proposals, or a handful of proposals that have been doing really, really positive things, and it's been such an honor. I've worked in environmental science and clean water protection for the last 19 years now, and so it's really wonderful to see the city doing these things, because having land and preservation is probably one of the greatest things you can do to prevent water pollution. I'm longtime Oahu resident since I've been here for college, and I like hiking and being outside with my dog and my family, and yeah, thank you for letting me be here.
Mahalo for that, and for making time to also talk through some of the priorities earlier, and just your willingness to continue to serve. Questions from Councilmember Kia'aina.
Thank you, and thank you for agreeing to serve. You know, I agree that this is one of the most important and probably underutilized mechanisms to acquire land for preservation. And I do know that I'm hoping you guys are endeavoring to strengthen your outreach capacity so that more communities are aware of it. My concern has been, you know, when we are providing a lots of money for land acquisitions to nonprofit organizations who may not have even been in existence for over 10 years. Mm-hmm. When you're looking at 50 years down the road and they don't have the capacity to maintain those lands, I wonder what happens, because we would have spent city funds for its acquisitions and given it to them. My question to you is, should we look at the underlying statute and provide safeguards in it so that the city perhaps has first right refusal for those lands? Because what happens if they can't take care of the lands?
I absolutely understand that concern. Fortunately, the proposals that I've been able to see in the last 5 years, a lot of the nonprofits have been in place for well over 10 years. They've been in place for a long time. They have groups, not just individuals, of people who are extremely committed. You know, these are their full-time jobs, as well as their life work. From what I understand, the Department of Land Management has a pretty rigorous process for the acquisition. Being a real estate purchase, there are a number of legal requirements that have to be in place. So from what I understand, DLM does a pretty good job vetting these abilities. I caution a little bit to I guess codify or put into writing a lot of requirements, because we already do have a challenge getting applicants to do these real estate or conservation easement purchases. You need very specific things already in place. You know, the group has to own the land typically, or the applicant already has to own the land, and it has to be very clear of any conditions or concerns. So I do think that with DLM's processes, I trust that they cover a lot of those concerns.
You're only describing when we acquire the property. I'm talking about 50 years from now,
Right.
when they
and-
don't have the capacity. My question is, should the city get those lands back?
In like 50 years down the line, that's a great question. I do know that DLM does condition a lot of the agreements, and there are annual requirements, annual reporting and such. I'm sure if that real estate purchase were to hold conditions like that, that could be a possibility, and that's something that we could probably talk to DLM about the conditions of that purchase.
Okay, thank you, because we are putting out a lot of money
Oh,
for
absolutely.
land acquisition, so, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tupolo.
Thank you so much, Chair. Aloha, thank you for being here and for being willing to serve on this particular commission with the background that you have. It sounds like a good fit for what you've been doing, and you're a Waiakea High School graduate, which is cool. I read that in your resume. I appreciate, Councilmember Kiana's thoughts. She's always very mindful of the land and caring for it. I think my thoughts are a little different because I have thought about the fact that I don't want the city to acquire these lands. I want them to help. I want them to assist. I want them to give grants. I want them to, aid these nonprofits. But I have a handful of land in my district. So we have Kaneaki in Makaha that thought about it. We also have the Eatons who are working in Eva at Ho'okale because we do have a cultural preservation area. But literally, I don't know if these places and people want the city to acquire the land and then own it. Then I don't really know if that's something that we should be owning, because I wonder how we maintain it, especially if it's a cultural preservation site. Because in my mind, culture is preserved when it's active, not when it's barren or stagnant. So like what we would like to see at Kaneaki Heiau is not that the city go and buy it, but that we actually start to do cultural practices back in that area, not just, buy the land, just like have it sit there so people can look at it every now and then. Like, no, like actually revive it, bring back what used to happen over there so that people are aware of the history of it. So I was thinking, as we come up to possible, charter amendments next year, whether or not we should take out of the city charter that we're going to buy all these lands, because a lot of my people that see the clean water natural land, they apply for it and then they're like, whoa, you guys are going to take the land away from us? Like, we're good. We don't want the money. But then also the state has a similar program where they don't take the money and they give it as a grant to help. So I wanted to know what your thoughts were.
Thank you so much for that conversation. I actually was just speaking with a friend recently stating that, and I have to look into it more, but apparently County of Maui is set up to do something a little similar to what DLNR does, where I think there's room to be able to offer people through the Clean Water Natural Lands Fund grants. So that could be more temporary, and that might ease some of the concerns about that long-term acquisition. Will they still be active in 50 years doing the same cultural work that we're trying to do now? But I think there is a lot of room for growth, and as well as outreach. The real estate process, the real estate purchase process and the conservation easement purchase process, from what I understand, is not simple. And so a lot of applicants, even the ones who came to us and applied and offered proposals, and we actually approved and sent to the council for your consideration, they didn't, from what I understand, they haven't even necessarily gotten their funds yet, which is really sad and disheartening for us because they're doing such good work. So absolutely, I think there's a lot of room for potential amendment. I think it's something that has to be very much considered and debated by our commission, because it seems that the original intent of the fund, the way it was written, several decades ago, keep in mind, was for real estate purchase. And I want to honor that and understand the national conservation practices and legalities that go into that. But if we here in Hawaii, we have our own unique challenges. We're very much land limited. We don't always have those opportunities. Developers are coming in with the potential for millions and millions of dollars of profit. Why would they ever put it towards us in conservation? And we can't compete with that. But if we could have grants that really, really stimulated the open space, the clean water, the cultural activities that are happening now, I think the commission would be super excited about that.
Yeah, I think we have to go that way. This particular fund has upwards of maybe 50 million sitting in it. It's too much.
Right.
And the reason why is because it's too difficult to access these funds. And to your point, people drag themselves through the process for years, and then they're like, you know what, I did it. I did it with 2 of my nonprofits, and they're like, you know what, we're good. So it's just, you know, because I tried to get them to apply, but then you have to do all of the things that you would as if you were a realtor and, you know, the assessment. So I know that Director Tashner is going to change that, but nonetheless, one, we don't want that money sitting there and just idling. And two, if it's not serving its purpose, then we have to change something in the charter. So I look forward to any recommendations that the commission has. And thank you again for your time. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Ms. Tanimoro. We'll go ahead and go into testimony. I'd also acknowledge the presence of Committee Vice Chair Cordero. Anyone online can go ahead and use the raise hand feature to raise your hands. We don't have any registered testifier. I see an unregistered lined up in chamber, so we'll start with that. Anyone else in chamber can make their way to the front as well. Ms. Young, please go ahead, unmute, and proceed when you're ready.
Aloha. I'm just a witness in the audience, but I really love what the lady over there was saying with the contractual obligations and professional code of conducts between the people executing the contracts, and then also the knowledge of real estate property management at acquisition of property. And I think that can really be an asset to helping to manage the distribution of funds from federal dollars to use those funds wisely at the county's office. So I'm in support of that lady over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Young. See no one else present in person, see no hands raised online, and since see no questions for the testifier, we'll go ahead and close testimony. Since see no discussion, before I make my recommendation, Chair is going to recommend that Resolution 2545 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Mahalo again, Ms. Tanimoro.
Mahalo, Council.
That brings us to agenda item number 3, Resolution 2546, approving and authorizing the mayor or the mayor's designee to enter into a development contract between the city and county of Honolulu and TC Keapai LLC and enter into ground lease between the city and Keapai Place Apartments LLLP to develop the affordable rental project at 734 and 735 Keapai Place, Kailua, Oahu, Hawaii, and authorizing the granting of any easements for utilities or access when portions of the property. Joining us today, we have Mr. Chris Fong of Tradewind Capital, who will be giving us a brief presentation on the project. Members, you should have a copy of the presentation on your desk available as miscellaneous communication 75. I'll go ahead and turn it over to you. Mahalo, Mr. Fong.
Good afternoon, council members, and thank you, Chair Weyer, for the opportunity to present. I actually have a presentation. I want to make sure, can I pull it up or is it?
Yeah, it should be on the computer. Did we get it set up? If it was on the computer next to you, we'll have clerks come over and double check. Okay. And then just while we're waiting, members will note that we also distributed to each of you a hand-carried CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0127/2/10/2025, 1:31 p.m. submitted by myself.
Okay, thank you for your patience. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chris Fong. I am with Tradewind Capital, and I am the project manager for this project. And I have behind me some other team members from my organization, Bob Brule and Kent Walther. So we're all really excited to be here and present on this project. And I'm going to be talking about this location, the project at 734-735 Keapai Place in Kailua. So just a little bit more on myself and my organization. I work for Tradewind Capital, and so Tradewind Capital is a local-based investment firm that has been investing in the islands through its predecessor and sister companies for nearly 100 years. We have our mission statement is that we're a local company that invests to build a better Hawaii with a mission, with a vision to be a leading force for the economic growth and well-being of Hawaii. And sorry, the slide's cut off, but our focus is on investments, specifically real estate investments, including a track record of affordable housing, development, and investment. And the goal for this project is to introduce grossly needed, undersupplied, affordable rental housing in Kailua Town. Okay, well, sorry, give me 1 second. So this is a snapshot of the site. So if you look on the left, the project site is right at the entrance of Kailua Town. So this is entering Kailua Town. The top of the page would be the north end near the ocean, and then on the south near the Ko'olaus. And so the site is right on the edge of Kailua Town along Kauainui Marsh. And if you look at the picture on the right, you can see that it's a site that's surrounded by similar type of walk-ups. The site is zoned A2 for apartment use, so the site is perfect for the type of project that we're proposing to do on it. So what is it we're proposing to build? Our project includes 42 units of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units for residents earning up to 80% of the area median income. The 80% AMI was actually the requirement for the RFP that was put out by the Department of Land Management. Our base case actually assumes we'll be delivering units for residents earning between 30 to 60% of the area median income. The type of building is that it will include 3 stories of residential above ground floor parking. And the parking, by building it that way, we can include 54 parking stalls on site. So ensuring that we have adequate parking on site on our property and not on the streets. And by keeping it to 3 stories of residential above ground floor parking, we can also respect the A2 40-foot height limit for the parcel. So that was really important for us too in our plans in the RFP. And again, I touched on the parking, but really ensuring that we have adequate parking higher than a 1-to-1 ratio in terms of stalls per units for residents and guests on site. That's perfect, that's perfect. And then last thing I'll touch on is just the process. So in terms of the RFP process to date, so in April, our organization responded to an RFP put out by the Department of Land Management. In July, we got notice that we were selected as the preferred developer, subject to further negotiation of certain development docs. August through December of 2024, we continued on some preliminary building designs and continued negotiation with Department of Land Management on those documents. On January 8th of 2025, we held a public hearing at Kailua District Park to solicit feedback from the community and to confirm that the project was in the best interest of the community. And we didn't have any real concerns with the project, which was great. And in February 11th, so today, we're here in front of the Housing Committee. And then going forward, after this, we'll be in front of the full council in March for approval of the right to enter into an agreement with the city and county. And then June through October of 2025 is really when we'll be focusing on entitlements for the project. And so that'll include community outreach, including a presentation to the Kailua Neighborhood Board. February of 2026 is when we would seek financing for this project. Now this project, because it's a low-income housing rental, will be financing, our base case assumption is assuming financing through the low-income housing tax credit program administered by HHFDC. So we are preparing to apply for that financing in February of 2026. Assuming we win an award in the 2026 funding round, that would allow us to break ground in the fall of 2026 with project completion in the summer of 2028. So that concludes my presentation, and I'll pause for any questions.
Appreciate that presentation and all the work that you're doing. I'll just note in terms of our CD1, the amendments included in the hand carried included adding a paragraph 2 to provide that the mayor or the mayor's designee is authorized to enter into agreements substantially in the same form, and of course make any necessary amendments and execute any incidental or related agreements or documents necessary to carry out the transaction. That upon a determination by the Department of Land Management that each and every condition set forth in Article 6 of the development contract has been satisfied, may execute the lease in substantially the same form as attached to the resolution and execute any incidental or related agreements or documents necessary to carry out that transaction. Adding a paragraph to provide the grant of utility or access easements over and across the property as may be required to develop and support the project, and adding a new paragraph 6 to provide that the mayor or the mayor's designee is authorized to execute the grant of easements on, over, or across the property, and any incidental or related agreements or documents necessary to carry out the transaction. Amendments also include deleting the 3 be it further resolved clauses. The first and second be it further resolved clauses have been moved to paragraph 5 of the be it resolved clause, and third be it further resolved clause has been moved to paragraph 6 of the be it resolved clause. And in the attachments of the resolution, amend the cover page for the first attachment to refer to attachment 1, amend the cover page for the second attachment, delete a blank second page in Exhibit D, correct page break in Exhibit E, delete the last 4 pages in the submittal, as well as make miscellaneous and other technical non-substantive amendments. Just want to make sure, did you have an opportunity to review the hand-carried committee draft?
Yes, we did.
Okay, did you have any questions or concerns with it?
No, we are good with it. Thank you.
Appreciate that. We'll go ahead and go into discussion. Councilmember Kia, I know.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and good to see you again. As I stated at the public hearing at Kailua District Park, as you know, I'm a strong supporter of this, and I do appreciate what you've done to address the EV kupuna on site, which you brought with the property, as well as any future discoveries. My concern is the time frame, quite frankly, and I expressed it earlier. This is 2024, and you're not expected to be completed until the summer 2028. That's like 4 years. And so my 2 concerns in this timeline is, number one, why did it take so long for you to negotiate with DLM between August and December 2024? And the reason, of course, is I feel that you should have gone for LIHTC funding this February. Instead, you're going to have to go next February, and you're wasting a whole year. And my second question about the timeline is, say if you're successful, why is it going to take 2 years from groundbreaking for us to see this structure up? It's not a big structure. So if you can answer those 2 questions, I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So in terms of the timeline and why we weren't able to go into for financing for this funding round, 2025, practically, I don't think that would have been feasible for any developer. You know, to apply for financing from HHFDC, you have to be fully entitled. You have to have, and to be fully entitled, you typically have to be further along in the design process. And so from when we were notified in July that we were selected as a preferred developer, factoring the time to negotiate documents with Department of Land and Management, to get through designing, to get through entitlements, I don't think practically we could have been in a position to apply. Frankly, I think it's next week or this week they're accepting applications. And what is unfortunate about the HHFDC process is that they only accept applications once a year. And so I think in any scenario, we were always looking at a February 2026 application period. But, you know, I will say, you know, we're excited, and we've been talking with DLM about potentially exploring other ways for financing. You know, that's, I think we've been tabling those conversations until we've executed these agreements, because we're technically not engaged yet as a developer, but I think we're as motivated as you to figure out how we can do this quickly. And then as for the actual construction timeline, you know, I think assuming it's a LIHTC funding, you know, there's time to close the financing, and assuming we can actually kind of begin construction at the end of 2026 or early 2027, you know, only a year and a half to build the building.
Yeah, okay. And just lastly, the discussion we had with regard to perhaps HHFDC having two tranches to offer LIHTC funding might be conducive for moving projects forward. In other words, to waste a year to me is a waste, right? Maybe offering it in February as well as in the fall. I think that would help just timeframes for a lot of development. And I hope that the state would be able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sensing no other questions, Mahalo again for the presentation. We'll go ahead and go to in-person testimony. Having no one registered, anyone wishing to testify can come forward. We'll just ask folks online start to throw up their raised hands if they want to testify. Ms. Young, you can proceed.
Angela Melody Young cares in strong support of the resolution. So I think the resolution, if I'm reading it correctly, is to build something to contribute to the low-income housing development industry. And so, you know, as someone who's training to be a real estate agent, I'm invested in learning about these processes, but also to extend my support for the county's efforts as well as the development industry. So the county is invested in low-income housing development as a priority because of federally distributed grants from the Housing and Urban Development Office, which gives funding to the Resilience Office at the county's level from the Inflation Reduction Act to provide a lot of money to help modernize affordable housing, to help with low-income development, as well as to reduce energy costs for new housing development. So I'm in strong support of this. It seems like it says in the resolution that it will really benefit the county because it's one of the most advantageous proposals. So yes, in strong support.
Thank you, Ms. Young. Seeing no one else in the gallery wishing or coming forward to testify, seeing no hands raised online and no other testifiers, we'll go ahead and close testimony. Go into discussion. We'll just note again, mahalo again for all your work on this project. Bringing forward a project that both fits the character of the surrounding neighborhood, but is also increasing affordable units for our local families. And so mahalo for that. Any other discussion? Councilmember Kiaina.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to thank you for agendizing this measure. And I wanted to just reiterate my strong support for this project and show appreciation to both the development team as well as the city administration's leadership, including DLM Director Tashner as well as Housing Director Auger. I feel that it's critically important for the city to continue to look at underutilized city properties or buying, like in this case, private property in order to achieve the goals laid out in the mayor's strategic housing plan, as well as our overall objectives to increase housing on Oahu. A project such as Kihapai Place represent resourceful and creative opportunities that the city can provide to increase affordable housing units on Oahu. Thank you.
Mahalo. Sensing no other discussion, Chair is going to recommend that Resolution 2446 be amended to the hand-carried CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0127. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. And the Chair is then going to recommend that Resolution 25-46 CD1 be reported out for adoption. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Mahalo again, Mr. Bong, and your whole team.
Mahalo.
And that brings us on to agenda item number 4, members, Bill 63, 2024, amending the provisions related to accessory dwelling units. Please note that we posted on the agenda a proposed CD1 amendment identified as OCS 2025-0088/1/29/2025, 1:17 p.m. And the summary of the amendments was also posted. I believe we have Department of Planning and Permitting possibly present on this item, but we'll go ahead and go into testimony, members. Anyone wishing to testify in person may come forward. Seeing none and having no registered testifiers, will go online. Anyone wishing to testify can use the raise hand feature. Seeing none and having no registered testifiers, we'll go ahead and close testimony. And seeing no discussion, or was there any discussion from the committee before Chair makes his recommendation? Seeing none, I'm going to recommend that Bill 63, 2024 be amended to the posted proposed CD1 identified as OCS 2025-0088. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, the bill is amended to the CD1, and Chair is going to recommend that Bill 63, 2024 CD1 be reported out for passage on third reading. Any objections, reservations? Hearing none, so ordered. Perfect, making good time. I believe Park starts at 2:30, is that right? Yeah, okay, so we'll get there. That brings us to item number 5, informational briefing. Office of Housing will be giving a brief presentation on the housing update. You should have a copy of the presentation on your desk, and it is available online as Mayor's Message 25. You should also have a handout, potential of new housing construction on city lands, that is also available as Council Communication 35. And we'll just note, the Chair would entertain requests for future updates as we continue with committee updates by the office or the department. Want to welcome Executive Director Kevin Auger to lead the way. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Committee on Housing, Sustainability, Economy, and Health Chair Weyer and Vice Chair Cordero. It's a pleasure to be here this afternoon. Kevin Auger, Executive Director, Mayor's Office of Housing. So just briefly, provide a quick update on to our last meeting on January 15th. And the first quick update is that the housing plan that we had promised to deliver by January 31st has been posted and distributed. So if there are any questions on that, please feel free to reach out to us. We'll be happy to address those. For the public, the housing plan can be accessed at honolulu.gov/housing. That's honolulu.gov/housing. Just a note, Committee Chair Weyer, that we distributed hard copies, but there is an extensive appendix section that's also available online. I just wanted to make certain that folks were aware of that. So if you go to the honolulu.gov/housing website, you can find that appendices. The second item that we wanted to report on was the issuance of the request for qualifications. We issued RFQ DLM 25-01, and that included 4 properties, including 436 Anna Road, 1615 Alawai Boulevard, 130 South Baratania Street, and 1421 Pensacola Street. The RFQ was posted on January 30th. The pre-proposal conference will be held this Friday on February 14th. The deadline for clarifications from potential respondents is February 28th, and the proposal submission deadline is March 21st. We hope to score those proposals and make selections by the end of April. And then we've got 4 slides that we provided in the handout, just summarizing again the properties that were included. The next update was the request for grant proposals, and it's quite a bit of activity on these on the Affordable Housing Fund grants. Just a note to the committee that we have an intent to award that's currently outstanding and has been issued subject to certain conditions and conditions precedent that have to be met by the potential awardee. That's an $8 million grant that's currently outstanding. We're still technically in the procurement process, so we can't name that awardee publicly. We posted on January 29th a funding opportunity for $5 million of the Affordable Housing Fund. We held the pre-proposal conference on February 7th, and there was very good response to that RGP, if you will. The deadline for clarifications for that issuance is February 20th, 2025. and the proposal submission deadline is March 18th, 2025. We have a third request for grant proposal standing by. In the event that we do have good turnout, good response for that grant request, we're prepared to reissue a follow-on grant immediately thereafter. So we want to keep these funds moving. A quick update on the reorganization of the city's housing functions. We are currently out for union consultation. We have one issue related to federal funding that needs to be resolved, and we'll be responding to the union, I believe, this week, so we can continue to move that process forward. Once we resolve union consultation and once we receive final sign-off from the Budget and Fiscal Services Department, we'll be submitting a resolution to council. Looking ahead, we had anticipated going out to the development community with a solicitation for the Evil Center at the end of January. That's been slightly delayed due to a procurement issue. We need to bring on a uniform relocation consultant. We've been working on that procurement since August. Hopefully we can have that resolved in the next week or so. And once we have that issue resolved, the consultant on board will be moving forward with the RFQ. The RFQ has been prepared, and it's just a matter of time at this point. And then just a final note that in anticipation of the Office of Housing and Department of Land Management reorganization, it's the intent to submit a combined budget this year. I understand the Department of Fiscal Services is working on on organizational codes, and just a reminder that we'll be submitting a combined budget. That's all I have at this time, Chair Weyer, and I'll be happy to take any questions from the council members.
Mahalo, appreciate that. Any question from the committee?
Chair.
Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you. Just real quick on each of these pictures of the properties. So 436 and a road. Is that building currently vacant?
That's a great question, council member. Yes, it is currently vacant.
How long has it been vacant?
It's been vacant for at least 2 years, I believe. I can follow up and get you the exact dates on that, but it's been quite some time.
And it says the 42 units, and you guys are trying to make it rental property, right?
So we put the request for proposals out to hopefully qualified bidders, and it's their prerogative to tell us what they think that they could do with the property. We really want to get and generate ideas for what can be done.
So to be determined.
That's correct.
Is there any reason why it's been vacant for 2 years? What is the large holdup with that?
It's a couple of issues. One is it was funded with community development block grant funding, which is very limited in terms of what we can do, particularly if you try to expand the project. The project also has significant deferred maintenance. So there are mold issues, there are health and safety issues, which is one of the reasons why the existing residents were moved out of the property. So then we had internal debates around whether we should just knock it down completely or attempt to renovate it or redevelop it with additional housing. And so the resolution to that was, let's let the development community tell us what they think they can do with it.
You know, it's unfortunate that these are so many units that have been sitting there vacant. And I think to be honest, maybe you guys should do less so that you guys can finish this one. Because I kind of see more and more new things coming online, like look at this new one, look at this new one. It's unfortunate because we have so many properties that sit for so long. And so I think we need to be mindful of that. We shouldn't just go around acquiring properties knowing that it's going to sit there, maybe, invest the time in it. My next question is 1615 Alawai. Is that also vacant, or are there people living in there?
1615 Alawai is vacant, and it's currently scheduled to be demolished. We just received the State Historic Preservation Department concurrence today that the property is not historic and can't be raised.
And how long was that vacant?
I believe it's been vacant for over 20 years.
And we've owned it that whole time, or only recently?
But we only recently acquired that through condemnation, I believe.
And then 130 South Baratania, is that vacant?
That's correct, council member, it's vacant.
How many years?
It's actually it's a mini park. So it was dedicated as a mini park quite some time ago, but it's underutilized and it seems to attract homelessness for the most part. So we thought this would be an opportunity, leveraging the existing request for qualifications, to see what the market thinks might be potentially developable there.
And then Pensacola, vacant? It's just a lot, it looks like?
That's correct, Councilmember. It's just a lot.
So 5 units. I think the hardest part for me, and I did read through some of the housing plan, is just knowing which ones are actually, you know, kind of where it is in the pipeline. Because sometimes the way you guys talk about it is like everything is moving and it's new. And some of them, I mean, especially Anna Road, we've been talking about for a while. This housing plan, who wrote it?
It was a combination of stakeholders groups. There was a group called Community Scale and APT Global, with the help of Kevin Carney and Affordable Housing Solutions, that helped to craft the report.
And was this part of the RFP that was paid for to do this, or?
That's correct. I think there was an RFP issued approximately a year ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure where it gives some acknowledgments of like some people, but I think it would be nice to actually show how they wrote it and how they came up with this. I do think it's fairly long, almost too long to kind of really understand. I think there could be some advantage to keeping it simple, because I've read the last housing plan and this is like 5 times longer than that. I just think in general, you know, we're just trying to track with you guys and be helpful, but that was just a lot. It was a lot, and it's very different than the way you guys present to us in the committees. So I think the housing plan is nice. It would be good if that housing plan had some continuity when we speak about it and when we present about it, so that we're still talking about the parts of the plan.
Those are great observations, Councilmember. It was, if I may, the plan was actually significantly longer when we received the final draft, and we did our best to cut it down, because it was a lot to absorb.
It is. Well, that's interesting to know that it's shorter than what came out. Lastly, there's this list of potential of new housing construction on city lands. The first 2 are in my district. Kapolei lots 1 through 5, I'm aware, and that's actually kind of where the Kapolei Village Parkway one was, on 2 of those lots, and then we have the vacant ones. That one, it's obviously in an area where a lot of people want to see development, but the second line says Waianae Transit Center. And I've been out there with Director Cookie, with a few other of the city, you know, directors prior to your time. It says here the potential units is 200. I'm trying to be super calm right now, because I've told them so many times that that's not gonna happen there. There's not even a road there. It's behind a bus transit. It's up against the mall. It's at the end of a cul-de-sac. I've actually specifically asked for kupuna housing in my district, and I've had so many conversations with so many directors, not yourself, about this particular property, and then I get to see it on this list, listed down like as if we all agreed on that. So I'm just saying, like, for clarity, if we're gonna list properties that we think we're gonna put housing on, it would be good if we were all in agreement with it. But I feel like I've done this song and dance so many times with other properties in my district that are available, better for us to build on at the right place, giving you guys the AMI and who should live in there, and then I still have to look at this.
Those are terrific comments. And again, I'm very new to the role. That's not an excuse, but I've only been here for a couple of months. Would love to get together with you, would love to meet with you, would love to understand what you need in your district and how we can help you achieve that. There is an opportunity to build there. Kupuna could certainly be a part of that equation, but again, it's what do you and the community want. One of the reasons that we go out with RFQs, and one of the reasons that those will be helpful to us, is they give us an opportunity to create a partnership with a development partner versus just asking for a proposal that we can't compare apples to apples. So it gives us an opportunity to figure out who's best qualified and who can build what the community wants. And so we're happy and open, and I'd be delighted to meet with you to understand what it is that you need in your community.
Yes, I'm definitely giving you a lot of grace. I know that you're new to this, but I'm just expressing that I have been to that property. I have talked about this many times. I have talked about other properties. I'm fine to talk about it again. But if anything, it would be nice if we had a specific, that's what I really wanted to see in the housing plan. District by district plans, because I feel like I've already went through what our district needs. If it was a District 1 housing plan that we were all on, that we had signatories, that'd be great. But every time a housing plan comes out, of course, I love Councilmember Dos Santos Tam, a lot of it is for this guy right here, right? And so it doesn't really tap on my area. And then when it does, it's stuff we never even agreed on. So it would be nice if we had a district housing plan. I will make time to meet with you. Thank you, Chair.
Mahalo for that. Seeing no other discussion or questions from the committee, we'll go to testimony real quick. Anyone wishing to testify in person can come up. We don't have any registered testifiers. Ms. Young, please proceed when you're ready. Of course, anyone online can use the raise hand feature.
Aloha, Angela Melody Young from CARES in strong support of the housing presentation. So when we're talking about city planning and we're talking about strategic planning, planning resources to achieve common goals within the city and county's office of planning those maps for sustainable communities and the Oahu General Plan, the council members and also all the hearings, they spend a lot of time and energy to streamline and expedite, to integrate these processes and to have very specific focuses, right? For example, in the Oahu General Plan, very specific focuses of Kapolei being the second city. And then also, I think, actually, I'm not gonna go into it because I'm not like for sure. Okay, so, but I'm in support of the development in needed communities as presented in Iwilei because I think it does match some of the planning from the Sustainable Communities and Oahu General Plan. And also Iwilei, the characteristics of Iwilei is industrial business, but also homeless population. So homeless development is very important to support low-income housing.
Mahalo, Ms. Young. Since no questions for the testifier, I appreciate your testimony today. See no other in-person testifiers and no one online with their hands raised. We'll go ahead and close testimony and go back into discussion. Appreciate the points that were raised by committee members. I'll know there'll be offline conversations, I'm sure, with the department, so welcome feedback if there's any specific updates we want to put on the agenda for future committee meetings. I think this was helpful to give us that initial overview. Maybe coming back, and we'll stay in contact, but maybe April, I guess, would be after the RFP closes. You can provide updates specifically on those properties. And then is it fair to assume that the other properties may be going out in the near future as well in a solicitation?
Thank you for the question, Chair. Yes, it is fair to assume that we'll have more going out. We'll try to provide a schedule for those as we anticipate rolling them out. But April would certainly be a great time once we have awarded the request for grant proposals and also the RFQ.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And then, of course, yeah, any timeline information on the remainder. I know that we previously discussed the totality of city inventory.
Right.
Not expecting everything to be done overnight, but I think our hope is that as the conversation goes on throughout the year and we're looking at other city lands available, we can kind of pull out and identify what lands are appropriate. That's not necessarily setting up all these projects right away, but at least having agreed upon list. Did you have any input? Yeah, Councilmember Tupola.
Yeah, Chair, I was just wondering when we do, or if you're willing, I do think we should go through this housing plan. I mean, it would be nice because you guys just released it for us to digest it, read it, but kind of similar to what Director Morton did when he came out with the zero plan. They looked at it. They told us that it was a living document. They wanted our feedback on it. I sent it out to my community. We gave them feedback. I would love for us to actually go through the plan and give you feedback on it.
Great.
Because it actually isn't what you presented today, and I don't want to take up time here to do that. But if there is time, Chair, and you do schedule it in, I would appreciate being able to actually go through the plan.
Appreciate that. Does March work for that, you think, March committee?
Yeah, whenever is necessary. And if we want to do sections of the plan, because the thing is hefty, like we can just take a portion of the plan at a time.
So we'll work with Director to identify which portions to address, probably in order of the plan, but maybe pulling out, because I know like particularly the Affordable Housing Fund, use of those funds came up among stakeholders too, so maybe we could start with that, but we'll stay in contact. Any other discussion from the committee? Otherwise, mahalo, Director, for the presentation, all the work you're doing, and look forward to continued discussions.
It's my pleasure. Thanks very much. Mahalo.
Okay. And members, that brings us to our last item on agenda, item number 6, informational briefing presentation by Office of Economic Revitalization on the 2024 Economic Revitalization Commission report and small business survey. You should have copies of 2 presentations on your desk, one from OER on the commission report and the other from UHERO, investigating and tracking barriers and needs for small business success in Honolulu. Both are available online as Mayor's Message 26 and Miscellaneous Communication 76, respectively. I believe we have Director Asselby, also members of the committee present. I'll go ahead and turn it over to OER to do introductions and discussions. Mahalo.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ruben Juarez. I'm a professor at UHERO. And I'm honored to share some of the key insights from the latest research on small businesses in Honolulu. This presentation is a snapshot of the report. It's a 34+ pages report that's available online. And we're just going to be highlighting some of the barriers and opportunities that we found from over 1,000 businesses that we conducted a survey island-wide. So, thanks. Our study is going to take a deep dive into the challenges and needs of small businesses in Honolulu. We focus on critical areas such as workforce development, financial access, training, and networking opportunities. This research isn't just an academic exercise. We're hoping that it will directly inform policies at OER and a few other offices citywide, hopefully that can be implemented, to support small businesses. Just to give you an idea, we started this last year in January. We finished in December. We conducted over 1,000, a survey of over 1,000 businesses across different industries. And you can see on this graph, pretty much like every single sector in the state is available, was able to provide feedback. In addition, we look at gaps on the survey. So we conducted 11 additional interviews, one-on-one with small businesses, to make sure that we were not missing anything that we thought was relevant. And just like some of the highlights are, when asked about what their biggest needs are, we found that there was an overwhelming consensus that business owners pointed to marketing and sales as their top concern. So like more than 50% of businesses show that as being like one of the main issues that they needed right now. Financial resources with about 44% of the businesses that we had, and workforce development with one in 3 businesses basically telling us that that's one of their main priorities and concerns were. This tells us that businesses are not just struggling, but they want to grow. But they are looking for the tools and strategies to increase its visibility, strengthen their financial standing, and build strong, capable teams. So I think supporting this area is important. And we're going to be going deeper into some of these aspects. So, for instance, in terms of business growth, over half of the businesses reported moderate growth, but nearly 40% of the businesses in the city of County of Honolulu reporting stagnation or decline. And economic instability, workforce skill gaps, competition were the most common barriers that businesses were telling us. Our interviews point to strong competition from mainland firms in particular, especially Amazon and larger retailers as the main challenge when they were looking for these at competitors. However, this isn't just about the challenges. Of course, there is the opportunity. With the right support, business told us that, they can be helped, especially to be moving to a more rapid growth category. So just providing the support was important. Next. Another of the issues that businesses were telling us was on the financial aspect. So access to financing remaining a persistent challenge, especially for young business owners, women-owned businesses, as well as small enterprise. Nearly 30% of respondents reported difficulty securing financing, often due to high interest rates, of course, but also one of the things that we noticed was the complex application process. So I think the silver lining here is that this presents an opportunity for financial institutions, policymakers like you, as well as community organizations and OER to step in and provide these targeted solutions that could potentially simplify some of these processes for financing. Another of the things that we saw was, and sorry for that, that's flipped, okay. But one of the most common struggles were hiring and retaining employees. So more than 1/3 of the businesses reported difficulty finding reliable, skilled workers. We heard stories from various industries, general contractors, consultants, even mental health providers, who were telling us that, they were struggling to compete with larger mainland companies for top talent. And this highlights the need for investment and workforce development program, ensuring that local businesses have access to trained personnel. Next. And one of the most encouraging things that we saw in the report was, finding the role of collaboration and networking being key for the success. So many owners emphasize how forming partnerships and connections help them grow. And in particular, so one participant put it best where he said, it's a two-way street. We help others, they help us when we form these partnerships. So business owners recognize this value of strong networking. So, and I think there is an opportunity there to strengthen these connections even further by creating a more structured networking and resource sharing opportunities in the city. And I think that this is some of the initiatives that OER has been doing. Next. So, and pretty much like when we went to the interviews of the small businesses on a one-on-one, pretty much like just emphasize what we were seeing on the survey. The three main areas that were identified, three main gaps was financial assistance, such as access to grants, low interest loans, and credit lines as the main barriers, training and development, such as skill and technical fields, customer service, management, and this business-to-business collaboration. These insights really reinforce what we saw in the survey data, that businesses are eager to learn, grow, and collaborate. And now, I think just providing them with the right tools, it's really important. As some of the key lessons, and again, so this is just like part of a bigger report, but to help, business succeed, I think strengthening networking opportunities by creating centralized systems to make it easier for businesses to connect and collaborate is really important. Enhance market access by providing digital marketing and e-commerce training. That's one of the things that was emphasized and re-emphasized in the interviews, ensuring that local businesses can compete in today's digital economy. So I think building these support infrastructures is really important. Another key lesson is just, on the financial aspect, like addressing these financial barriers, by working with financial institutions. Hopefully the city is able to more effectively provide these links to educate small businesses, as well as promote workforce development and create training programs to partner with educational institutions, to build this talent pipeline. And honestly, adopt best practices, learn from successful policies in other cities, such as business incubators, innovation hubs, and you guys are going to be presented next, some of what other cities have been doing, which I personally think is really innovative. Hopefully that's one of the things that, we can be moving into. But yeah, in closing, I think small businesses face significant challenges. Okay, there is no doubt on that. We were able to document that, and we are hoping that, this presentation is able to provide some of the data that the city needs to start building the policies to support them. Thank you.
Well, Professor, I appreciate that. And with the committee's indulgence, I might ask OER to do all the presentations together if we think that would flow, and then that way questions that come out of the committee can be directed. So
That's good.
Appreciate that, and appreciate the data and the underlying basis for the work that we're doing. And then, yeah, I'll turn it over to, I believe we have our vice chair of the commission, and Director Alsobai. So I'll turn it over to you. Pardon? And then we'll send over, Ryan will come over and just check on the presentation while we're doing the opening.
Aloha, Chair Weyer. Thank you so much for having us today. Eliza Talbot with the Economic Revitalization Commission. I am the new chair for the commission. Olin has been our chair for the last couple years and will now be vice chair. But we've been a really good team, so we're excited to keep working together on this. And just wanted to clarify that the commission actually used its allotted funds to pay for that study from UHERO because we felt like it was a really important study and it helped us with a lot of the context that we're going to provide today. So, and then I'm going to start our presentation. So Olin is here with me today, and we just really appreciate your time. There is a QR code. If you'd like to scan it, you can get the full report, but I think each one of you has a hard copy as well. And then I just want to give a brief background on the commission, and that is that all 9 of us were appointed by Mayor Blangiardi in 2022. We have all been serving consistently since then. This team of people is truly remarkable. Such a privilege to work with each and every one of them. We have used every kind of economic study we can get our hands on to come up with really concrete ideas based on data that we've found. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about what we've done. And I'm going to pass it on to Olin.
All right. Aloha mai kako. So I'm Olin. I used to be chair, as Chair Eliza said. So I think first and foremost, I just want to share a quick story because a lot of the things we're talking about is about planting seeds in community, using the strategic plans that have come before us and plans that we've worked with. But one story that I think is relevant to the city, and I think I've shared this with some of you here, is that 25 years ago, I asked for a grant from the city and county when CNHA, the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement, was just started. It's a brand new organization, small, no capacity. So we got $20,000 through Wayne Tom's office, and it was remarkable because we started our first social venture. So we opened up a production facility for workforce development in Waimanalo, hired 12 residents. We were successful. We expanded to Papakolea, Anahola, ended up partnering with American Indian tribes, 8 of them on the continent, 2 Alaska Native Village corporations, grew that to a $66 million entity. And then you can see this 25 years later, that little seed funding that we got from the city now supports an amazing amount of social entrepreneurships coming out of CNHA with the Kilohana work and HDA. So I just want to have you guys think about that as we talk through some of the work that we've done last year and then the plans that we have this year, because that's what we're really doing here is we're being strategic, we're being data-driven. You heard what Professor Juarez says. We're commissioning these studies. We're looking at past studies to see what can we do that aligns with the CEDS, the Community Economic Development Plan that was adopted by the city. So it's a 5-year strategic plan. So all the work that we do is aligned with that. So next slide, I'm going to start with just a quick preview of, actually, I'm going to give you the history of what we did last year, just some of the work we did last year. So the 3 highlights from last year, and again, you can get the detailed plans here, is one, we looked at, there's a pretty big gap in getting grants from the federal government down to the city. And so we decided that we needed to close that gap. And it's a really hard gap to close. So we put out an RFP. We ended up hiring a contractor. So this is a contractor that is now working across different city groups to look for strategic federal funding opportunities to bring down those funds. So that's something that happened last year, is in place. Second is we have a lot of folks, not a lot of folks, we have a small team that's on the ground talking in community and talking to small businesses. And so we decided to solidify some of those things and create the Oahu Business Connector. So if you haven't been there yet, it's been online for about a year, and it is thriving and growing. So there's over 80 partners now on that site. It has served almost 5,000 small businesses that have come there looking for growth plans, financial plans. There's about 1,200 different resources there that are free or almost free or very low cost. And so it's really designed as a starting point for folks that are getting into commerce or wanting to develop their nonprofit or their for-profit, their at-home business or their side hustle, so to speak. Yeah. And then the last thing we did last year was we started looking at gaps in the data. There are a lot of incubators, and we have one at Purple Maya where we found a gap with Wahine-led businesses, so we started one, and now we're on cohort 4. But what other gaps are out there? And so we used some of the data that we figured out to come up with a plan last year that we needed to launch one this year to meet some of those gaps. So that was 2024. Yeah, next slide. All right, so this year, the work that we have this year is really can be summed up in 3 different points. So the first thing that we're looking at is we have a PIG that we created that's going to be looking at how can we adopt local preference in city procurement? Is that possible? You know, this is not something that we would be pioneering. It's happening in San Francisco and LA, parts of Texas, other parts of the continent. And typically it's about a 5 to 10% bonus that you would get if you're a locally based company. And each place has different restrictions on what comprises a local company. Some 50% of the staff have to be in that city, some a little bit more. So there's all those requirements. So we're not experts in it yet. We're talking to folks and doing our research, but we're planning to have a plan this year to see if there is an opportunity for the city to consider different pathways that we can give our local companies a little bump, and then that would have a pretty significant impact, we believe, in local commerce building capacity, funds that come back from folks that are based here and operating here. The second thing is something we started last year was really the pilot program of where can we create an accelerator to help start companies. And so we identified a gap, and so we're launching that this year. And so some of the things that we've done is one of our commission members is with the Hawaii USA Federal Credit Union. So they're going to support, I think, $50,000 in capital to help make this happen. So we're bringing in outside capital to start a new kind of accelerator that we hope will fit a gap to start more companies in places where there are few. So that's the second thing. And then the third thing is really looking at Chapter 38. And so Chapter 38, if you guys, I'm sure you guys are familiar with that, restricts the city from contracting business, I guess, underutilized properties to the highest bidder so that you can earn the most amount of money. But that may not be the best thing to do. So there might be other opportunities where there's economic development or it can meet other needs from the city. And so we want to look at if there are pathways to revisit Chapter 38 so that we can use city underutilized properties for more economic development. Okay. All right. Is that mine? Hey, Kalamai. All right, so let's go through a little bit more detail on the 2025 plan. So on the local procurement, one of our commissioners is an attorney, Greg Kim, and so we have other attorneys on the commission as well, but he's leading the PIG that's looking at this local procurement. And I kind of summarized it on the last couple of slides where there are cities that have been doing this. We have reached out to various city or agencies to start to collect data. We haven't gotten the data that we think we could need to really do a proper analysis, but we're just getting started. So expect us to get a report back to you guys on pathways that we can find for local procurement.
So our second idea, sorry, I'm shorter than you. Our second idea was the business incubator program. So I'm going to kind of talk more about that. And yes, you know, there's lots of incubator programs out there, accelerator programs, but what we've been able to do with the UHERO study is really identify where these underserved businesses are finding that they need more help. And so that way we can really focus our attention and target them in a more efficient way. And so that's really what the plan is for this. We will start in May, and then it will they'll have graduation in August. And like Olin said, we're really excited about the addition of $50,000 for financing for these companies that participate. We really feel like that's a big deal. A lot of these are going to be just startups. And so we're really excited about that. And then another thing I want to emphasize is that the commissioners will be actively engaged in this process. They're going to be the mentors, they're going to help with training, they're going to help with the selection committee, and so we think that it's a really great opportunity to utilize all the skills of the commissioners. And then the next item was the OBC, and so, you know, we launched that, what was it, this year? Oh, I'm sorry, City Innovation Spaces, I apologize. So as Olin talked about, we really need to find a way to better utilize these spaces that the city already owns. Councilmember Topolo was just talking about how many of them are sitting vacant. It's really inefficient, and there's lots of different innovative things we can do if we have the ability to use these spaces. And so we really look forward to working with all of you guys to try to identify some exceptions or exemptions that can be used to help us do more innovative things like childcare, workforce development, all kinds of different programs that will really help. And then next, I'm going to go through our key takeaways. Okay. So the Commission's goal is, are we on the right? Okay. So the Commission's goal is to be strategic and data-driven in everything we do. Is this yours?
Yeah. So. All right, we can go to the next slide. We covered that one. Okay. All right, so this is more specifically about our agenda for this year. And so we have this topic that we're focusing around food security, resilience, and so we're going to be engaging with experts locally, stakeholders, bringing in local leaders. We meet every other month, and so we'll pick one of these topics. A commission member will adopt one of the months so that we can really spend a lot of time to make sure we're crafting the right agenda. We're going to try to get out in the community. So with sunshine laws, we might have to do some live streaming, but we're going to give it a shot to just get out and do something that's not just in the office, but actually getting out and visiting some of these centers like the Wahiwa Food Production Center, where we can look at that $1 million machine that will vacuum squeeze food and preserve poi for 3 months, fresh. So we can kind of break out of that mold. So that's a preview of the agenda.
Okay, so key takeaways. We are here to listen to the community. We're really here to collaborate with all of our partners in the OBC program as well as with the OER team. The staff at OER has been really amazing to work with. And like we said, we're really focused on being data-driven and using all the different studies that we have available. And then OER is really focused on getting feedback. The outreach coordinators go through and talk to hundreds of businesses every year, and that has been exceptionally helpful for us and really informed our decisions. But we know there's still gaps, and we know that there's still things to work on. And so, as we said, we are excited to launch the incubator program to expand procurement. Hopefully we can do that, and we'd love to work with you guys on that. And just thinking outside the box for underutilized properties. So in that, I just want to say mahalo from all of us for your time today. I really want to emphasize that the thing about OER that I really love personally is someone that's worked with businesses for several years and trying to help businesses, get started and grow. It is the only agency at the city that is just so nimble and able to be innovative, and so we're really excited to be part of that and look forward to working with all of you guys, and we're here for any questions.
Mahalo for that presentation and all your work. I'll open it up to the committee for questions. Councilmember Tupola.
Thank you so much. For Director Asselby, if that's okay. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for presenting today. I appreciate it. I kind of wanted to start with the vision of OER, and then I'm going to branch into some of my questions. But on your website, it says the Office of Economic Revitalization is the City and County Honolulu's newest office organized during COVID-19 to economic revitalization, et cetera. We understand the economy is made up of people, not numbers. We provide information and opportunities for job seekers, small business owners, farmers, innovators, community-based organizations, and anyone else who's doing their part to improve the quality of life on Oahu. My first thought in hearing all of this is we just need a way clearer vision. Like for me, it's doing a lot of things, but really the main thing that I've noticed from businesses, and I just sat in a solar industry luncheon yesterday, well, the main thing I've noticed is everybody has problems working with the city. So if we were going to be as effective as possible to help businesses, I would hope that in this UHERO study, we would ask specific questions like, have you ever worked with the city? Have you had issues with the city? What departments did you have issues with? What problems did it cause you? If you did work with the city and you had a positive outcome, what was the positive outcome? Kind of like what Olin was sharing. What was the impact of that outcome? How many people were benefited from that? Because I think the main takeaway from any study has to be, what policies are we going to change based on the information that we concluded? But it all starts off with, what is the vision? So what is the vision of OER has to be clear, 2 sentences, not 3 paragraphs, just clear. Like if we want businesses to succeed and we have a good idea of how many businesses have to work with the city, which some of them might not know, right? Because they might think it's the state. But hey, your streets, that's the city. Hey, those cones in front of your business, that's the city. Oh, hey, your water bill, that's the city. Hey, your wastewater, that's the city. Oh, your trash not getting picked up, that's the city. So like, it would be nice to see for these businesses that have these things that are affecting their bottom line, their ability to succeed. I want to know how much of the city operations impact them and maybe what we can do better, because I think that's the thing we have the most influence over is our city operations, our city budget, and our city policies. I think all of this is wonderful, but we have to concede at some point we don't have control over many of those things. Those are very peripheral ways to affect businesses. I think a more direct way to affect businesses would be to how much of your revenue was lost due to something that happened with the city, the rail, anything. A lot of people complaining to me about their trash not getting picked up because we're short on trucks. So this proposal by the commission, which is wonderful, I thank Olin and I thank Liza for being here. I love when the commissioners come forward. There's a few things that said this, like the innovation spaces. I like when they said revitalize city-owned spaces. So then that's something that we actually have direct control over because that's our space. So we can influence it. But then this other one that says, identify a useful approach to build business participation in government contracts. So OHA just sent out an RFP, which blew my mind, to get all Native Hawaiian organizations or organizations owned by Native Hawaiians actually registered as NHOs and get them in what is it called? No compete contracts. So every time they bid on this work, they automatically win it. And they're actually doing it and educating each of them on how to get those government contracts because those are way bigger than what they're getting now. That to me is super impactful. So I'm just saying, like, from all of this, and I appreciate it, I just don't think it has as much of a point as I want it to have as far as exactly how it's going to impact us. And there was no specific thing for us to do as council members on how we could change policies to help support this.
Thanks for the comments, very helpful. And we are working on revamping the website because we've developed some new strategic talking points. And the first one will unveil as we update that website. But, you know, when we did start during COVID, it has been a broader tent, right? And the advisory and guidance nature of our commission is very strictly towards OER because the Economic Revitalization Commission is not, you know, chartered or allowed to necessarily tell, I don't know, the Department of Environmental Services what to do per se. But we all are starting to venture into that territory. And I think one thing, if it didn't come across clearly, is that the commission members feel like in this next year, they do want to spend time coming to the city council and advocating for those things like the changes to Chapter 38 that need to happen so we can effectively utilize vacant city spaces, buildings, and land for the purposes of economic and community development. So that's one of the areas that they've identified, as well as procurement, which would impact BFS, right? So just like you said, let's see what we can do. Let's see how these internal mechanisms work, as whether they impact small businesses' ability to get a contract in the city or not, and then try to create the proposal for a local small business procurement preference. And so those are two of the areas where the commission has been working with and advising OER, like, let's go after this, let's work with the city council on making these changes that Director Tashner has started to preview to the city council on changing Chapter 38. And for us, this would be huge. One of the pilot projects that we've been looking at for years are the vacant city retail spaces in Chinatown. There's many of them, and we could run programs that would help uplift local businesses, local artists, and revitalize that space. One of the spaces we visited 3 times with the University of Hawaii, they have a pending planning and design grant for an innovation space in Chinatown in one of those vacant spaces. So we really see the opportunities going forward, that there is a role, there is an advocacy opportunity for the commission, but also that our economic development priorities are evolving towards how do we work closely and better together with the city agencies that impact small businesses. But to do so does take that data-driven approach. We want to see where the gaps are, and we don't want to duplicate what other people are already doing out in the community. So I'm appreciative of some experienced and impactful commission members working with us. We meet with them bi-monthly, so we have strong working relationships, and that goes on regularly with the various permitted interaction working groups and other engagements, including this incubator, which we are planning to run out in Waianae. Once we find a site, we'll be reaching out to also engage you in that work with some, I would say, budding entrepreneurs, the folks with an idea for the business that we want to help turn into and help them actually get their businesses registered, and some funding from an outside financial institution to support them to kick it off.
Yeah, thank you, Director. I look forward to seeing, I don't need to see a new website. I just want to see a new vision statement. I want something so clear that makes so much sense, because we have an arts commission, so I don't want them doing what the arts commission does. We have DLM, that's what they do. They're supposed to use vacant land. So just narrowing in exactly what they're supposed to do and exactly what your department is supposed to do, so that we know that it's actually impacting things that could produce either funds or revenue for the city, and or we could improve ways that we work with businesses. I just think we have to get a little bit more specific with it, and then we can actually measure those outcomes and not just general outcomes for businesses. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Cordero.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. I don't know who this would go to, maybe Director Asabai as well, for a few of the questions that I have. I'm looking at the study by Yuhiro, which is perfect. I really appreciated it from Professor Juarez. And my first question, I'll kind of go in order, is in relation to, okay, what are the city's next steps for directing support towards minority-owned businesses as well as women, right? Because that was like the main outtake from the results. And so how are we going to be changing our either communication or programs or even forms, something to get that granular level?
So our outreach team has focused on minority and disadvantaged businesses over the last year and used data to derive a list of 502 minority disadvantaged businesses in underserved communities, and done specific outreach to all of them to find out what their needs were and to connect them to those resources for which they requested support. So that continues today. Many of those businesses on the list have diminished or gone away over time, or their business has gotten even smaller than what qualified them to be on this disadvantaged business list for outreach. So we understand that this survey tells us a lot about their challenges, but it's backed up by that day-to-day interaction. So over 9,000 businesses have visited the Oahu Business Connector, and then we've created hundreds of personal business connection plans from those interactions. So that's one area. We also have once a month in-person visits, because we know a lot of businesses maybe online or working from home, and therefore we aren't going to meet with them when we go to do our outreach for storefront businesses. And so those have been going on on the North Shore in Haleiwa and in Kapolei, and also in Kaka'ako at the Hub co-working space. So the one in Kapolei has been really great because we work through a co-sponsorship with the SBA. And I think this would be instructional to note that this month we were planning to have a women's business outreach event in Kapolei, and it was canceled due to the DEI restrictions from the federal government. So we're going to be working through some of that with the SBA and figuring out how we target our workshops in the future to minority and disadvantaged business owners here, which are frankly the majority. But I guess, you know, overall, our outreach, not only being able to speak other languages and get out door to door so those businesses can feel that personal touch, our underlying purpose has always been to be there for the exact businesses that the UHERO study highlighted and you mentioned. We feel that our partners at the state, the Department of Business, Economic Development, and Tourism, are really focused on those growth, export, manufacturing, maybe really expansive high-tech businesses, and that there is a space in terms of the development and startup nature of businesses here on this island where that would be the sweet spot for OER.
Thank you. As well as for the other programs that are offered or support that are offered, including enhancing their online marketing or e-commerce, as well as the relationships with financial institutions. So OER is really just bridging, right? Bridging the businesses to those needs that they have. And then so with, for example, the promoting workforce development, are we then connecting them to our Department of Community Services, Work Hawaii? And how does that also kind of filter back to providing, giving the state/city workforce or Work Hawaii teams more work, support, funding from where we need it from? And how does that kind of like interplay with each other?
Let's see, the first question, I can't remember, but on workforce development, we not only have our small business team, but we also have a workforce development program manager. And so she's very closely connected and meets, I don't know, bi-weekly with the folks at Work Hawaii. So for example, one of the events we have coming up, which I think we sent save the dates to all council members, is a basketball tournament during spring break to help those near graduation and those who have recently graduated from high school to connect to career training and other educational pathways. So that basketball tournament is the whole week of spring break, and Work Hawaii, among 20 other public and private, both training organizations and employers, will be there to connect youth and recently graduated folks to careers and job pathways. So we're really excited. That's one small thing where less than a month away, we'll be doing that in partnership with Work Hawaii. But the job fairs and really just referring small businesses, they're one of the places where we can refer small businesses for them to get training for their employees, as well as the Good Jobs program at the University of Hawaii that OER is still funding. So that's a $5 million training program that can provide free workforce development for Oahu residents in various areas that support economic diversification.
Are we able to provide, and I know that there was mentioned by the vice chair about local preference, but can we get like city jobs preferences when we are doing these types of efforts to be like, direct them immediately to any of our agencies that need the capacity?
Yeah, so I think the capacity to work on the pathways has been limited in the city because we're somewhere around 3,000 vacancies.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been very anxious to provide those pathways and that support through Good Jobs Oahu. And so I am happy to report that while we started with a training program for recruits to the police department to take the exam, we've now expanded to plant propagation for folks who want to enter the Department of Urban Forestry. And we just posted recently with the person who was recently hired at the Department of Parks and Recreation and another out at Kualoa Ranch. I believe there were like 9 or 11 in that cohort. We've also worked with the Department of Planning and Permitting to provide blueprint training for somewhere between 50 and 70 of their employees to enhance their technical skills. And right now we're hopefully, I don't know, this week, next week, something like that, starting radio technical training for those who are working in or want to work in emergency services, fire, and police, to get the technical skills that they need to do radio operation for all the emergency calls that come in and they need to contact our vehicles or our officers that are out on the street. We've also been working with a number of city departments that need commercial driver's license training. So that's still underway, a work in progress, because they need more drivers and kind of the vehicles to train more people. But we think that's really an important part of our work, is having the capacity to go and apply for the competitive funding to help build the bridge with other departments that would like to enhance or diversify their employees in their departments, and how can we bring people in with just a little bit of skill building, you know, a certificate or an AA that would qualify them for a good job in the city.
Thank you. My related question to that, to all of those financial support that we are applies for, is that it's never guaranteed, right? I also brought that up to Director Kawano this morning. And so, you know, we have a lot of people that we're supporting, businesses that we're supporting, and as well as like actual live body personnel in the city that are doing that support work. So I guess, are we looking to, support a lot of these programs from the general fund if necessary? Because, like I said, some of these programs that we're applying for funding from are not going to exist for forever, right? So.
Well, we look at our work as being responsive to what's happening in the economy today. Mm-hmm. And so we feel like our future is built around, yes, being able to be nimble, but also being able to go after, receive, and manage competitive federal grants, such that it's not, we have the staff to do the work and we're pushing the dollars out into the community. The chair mentioned 80 different nonprofit and other private service providers that work with us through the Oahu Business Connector. So we're hoping, you know, some of it does come through in an earmark to provide them grants to enhance their capacity to support and work with businesses. And it's true, we have no guarantee. But we're building our capabilities. We want to enhance our grants management capacity so we can work with more organizations that are aligned with our mission and vision. And I guess I'd just say we see opportunity there, whether it's competitive federal grants, local private businesses that want to partner with us potentially as sponsors, thanks to the legislation that you've introduced and is being heard today and going forward. And additionally, from philanthropy here locally, we think there's great opportunity and alignment with our work.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that you brought that up. And normally I don't like to share. I just this morning got back from Shibuya, our sister city, and I was invited to see their a festival where they had their incubators and their business community associations set up this event all across their city, and those AI tech as well as art companies, as well as their small businesses, have framed the different policies of Shibuya itself and have been able to I guess, set a menu for the types of building, housing, even sidewalk planning that's out there for them. And so hopefully, like Councilmember Tupola mentioned, about anything that can reciprocate back to the city as efficient for us would be a great thing. I have to say that those business connectors were able to get an application, like an app, and do studies for students, human behavior, so that they could further look at the how to better their city's operations for not just the businesses, but everyone who's using the city in different ways. So just wanted to share that. Thanks.
Well, appreciate that. It is 2:43, so I know we have to let Councilmember Tupola get to Parks Committee, and we still have to take testimony. So we'll go ahead and jump over to testimony real quick. Anyone in the audience, we don't have any registered testifiers, but anyone unregistered, please make your way forward. We see Ms. Young, so go ahead and proceed when you're ready.
Angela Melody Young cares in strong support of that presentation. So I actually would like to see more of the like business and law, how business and law intersects. As a small business owner myself, business owners have to understand the law to be able to operate at the most financial competitive level to make the most income. And so there should be a government office working with the state for more unrestricted laws, lower licensing requirements, the less barriers, the more money for middle-class families, and less government funding, right? So I think a few ideas for the office. I'd like to see is some of that data was like kind of boring, doesn't really relate to our trendy, like this generation. But for example, there could be city-sponsored commercial kitchens for low-income families, free incubator studios for musicians and filmmakers, artist businesses and farmers markets need a lot of assistance with like their pop-up booths and to do their CDs and staging and shows. So, you know, a survey for what's needed for specific businesses and also for like our generation of businesses, I think will be very like helpful.
Mahalo, Ms. Young.
Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, next person wishing to testify can come forward, state your name. Just make sure the red light is on. You can push the on button.
Is it on now? Aloha, everyone. My name is Hashim Usman. I serve as the manager for Ahmadiyya Muslim community of Hawaii here in Kalihi, under Councilwoman Cordera's jurisdiction. Just had a question. Is it possible for me to utilize this platform for a question to director or no?
So you can pose the question in your testimony, but really this is the opportunity for you to testify, and so you can incorporate that into the comments you want to convey to the council.
I appreciate it. Just working with city, you know, sometimes, as Councilwoman Andrea had said earlier, sometimes it could be difficult for members of the community to find guidance and information and work with city on different things. And being a manager for a nonprofit, it's a similar thing. You know, we have to be able to find out what resources are already available and where can we work with the city and with the community. So I know under this presentation, it was mentioned that nonprofits are also involved in this. So I just wanted to know if there are ways for us to connect with the department and also work on different things together.
Appreciate that. And I'll bring that question up shortly as well. Anyone else wishing to testify can come forward. Seeing none, we'll go online. Again, anyone wishing to testify can use the raise hand feature. Seeing none and having no registered testifiers, we'll go ahead and close testimony. I'll just throw it out to director members. We're in discussion. What are the best ways for nonprofits or organizations to reach out to OER? I know you mentioned the website. The incubator is going to be online. It's probably going to depend on what they're looking for, right?
Yeah. Anyway, I think you could contact me. It's amy.osselby@honolulu.gov, like anyone else in the city. Or you may check out our website. We have two. We have revitalizeoahu.com, and we also have oahubusinessconnector.org.
Okay, well, I'll look for that. And I could ask a dozen questions, but I know we're constrained for time. Councilmember Tupola, did you want to start at 250, 55? 250. Okay, so Parks will start at 250. Director, just wanted to say mahalo to you, mahalo to the chair, vice chair, professor, everyone that came out and all the work that you're doing. And really, I know this is just a glimpse of a much bigger picture And so happy to bring folks back. Would love to have updates on the procurement discussion down the line once we have something more solid. Of course, we'll be tracking the Bill 38 progress as well. Appreciate the work that went into the immigrant services positions that were filled this year. So I know there's so much great work. And so I wanted to thank everyone that came out today. And members having no further business, this meeting is going to be adjourned. Mahalo.